Okay, hello Facebook. We are now live. I'm looking rather unkempt, and I'm joined by Nicola Bird. Hi, Nicola.
Hello, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. I'm just gonna wait a few seconds to see how many people log on, because I know we're bang on time today, and I normally takes a minute or two for people to join us online. I can see Nicola has got some water with her. You might want to keep some water with you too. Just filling time. I've got some water here as well. So we're gonna talk as normal for about half an hour. I'm gonna just get to know Nicola a little bit. This is kind of payback. She interviewed me recently and got to know me, so this is my chance to get to know her a little bit and pick her brain. And then we've got some opportunities for questions. So if you guys have got any questions, please have a little think about that. Think about things that you might want to ask Nicola. And maybe there won't be questions in your mind right now, but they might come up over the next half an hour. And if you are watching us, please give us a little thumbs up or a like or a comment, so we know you are watching us and we are not just talking to ourselves. That would be helpful. Nicola can't actually see your comments, but I will be her eyes into Facebook land, and I will let her know what questions you might have. Although you might have Facebook open now. I think maybe Nicola can see you.
Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of on a time delay, so I'm just ignoring it at the moment. I'll let you be my Facebook eyes, and then I can concentrate on answering your questions.
Fantastic. Okay, got a bunch of people live now, so I think we'll just get going, and I'm sure other people will join us as we carry on with the webinar today. So I actually had heard your name bandied around in circles as you do, kind of whispered in corridors and the such, but we hadn't really crossed paths very much up until this year. And the first time I really consciously became aware of you that I remember was there was a post online, and I think it was by the Centre for Sustainable Change or something. Someone put out a post which was, who first introduced you to the three principles? And it got a lot of engagement, and I saw some familiar names in there, and then I just saw a load of people go, Nicola Bird, Nicola Bird, Nicola Bird, Nicola Bird. And I was like, who is this person? I thought I knew most people, in and around this community, at least the kind of people doing, a lot of work. And I was like, oh, that's quite surprising. And I think I reached out to you and I sent you a quick message going, oh, Nicola, well done you for, introducing a lot of people to this. I didn't really know that you had.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, cool. And then a little while later, someone, and I can't even remember who it was, reached out to me and said, you know what, I think you should really be on Nicola's podcast, and I think she should be on one of your videos. And so, I was like, okay, that's good enough for me. And I reached out and we recorded something recently for your podcast, and immediately I thought this could be really fun to do as well. Like whoever it was really, I think, on point. So I'm glad we're doing this. So this little background in terms of why we're here today.
Yeah, glad to be here.
So if you are like me and obviously living under a rock and not knowing who Nicola Bird is, for those people who don't know of you, and I've put a little bit of a blurb into Facebook so you can kind of see what, some of the stuff that you've been doing and some of the success you've had. But just give us a little bit of background. How long have you been coaching, for example?
Gosh, I trained as a coach originally in 2005 when my second son was born, and I decided I didn't want to go and work for anyone anymore. So I wanted to retrain. And that's when I trained as a coach. So I started off coaching being a life coach. And then quite quickly I realized I was coaching more business owners. So I ended up, doing a bit more study and focusing more on business coaching. Did some coaching for a while, and then created a coaching software technology platform. And that became then my main focus from sort of 2009 probably to 2013. So that kind of 4-year period, that was what I was completely immersed in. I was still coaching, doing a lot of business coaching, marketing coaching, business mentoring over that period. But I was more learning all about marketing and online stuff so that I could let people know about the platform I had.
Okay. And all of that was more traditional life coaching.
Complete old school coaching academy style training, doing all of the grow model and all that kind of thing. And it was only in 2013 when I bumped into the principles, accidentally, as you do. And then quite quickly after doing that, I was signed up to do Supercoach Academy and mentoring with the Pranskys, and just totally immersed myself for the last few years in basically all the training that I could get my hands on. So then and actually went back into coaching again back in 2013. Coached when I bumped into the principles, I was a business coach. So I took what I was learning and took it into the business arena to start with. For about, trying to do the math, so that was about 2.5 years, 3 years. Not very successfully, and I can explain why that was if that's of interest to people. And then I heard somebody talking on a webinar one day saying, oh, there's this thing I'd really love to create, but I can't because I'm too anxious. And the thought came to mind, oh, well, I could help with that. Like that's the biggest shift I've seen in my own personal experience. That's what the principles has really done for me. And so I reached out to her, and that was it back in February 2017. And then that's how A Little Peace of Mind, which is what I do now, got born, just from that things like that, kind of out of the blue. Oh, I could help you with that.
So I not because I'm some kind of narcissist or something like that. I love hearing about people's failures. I love hearing about coaches' failures. Not because it makes me feel better about myself.
I could fill a whole hour with those.
Yeah, but because I think we learn so much from our failures, and I've learned so much when things are going bad. I don't like it. I'll admit that, but it's always, it's so useful. I learn so much from it, and I know when we've had other coaches on webinars like this. It's been really insightful for people to hear about, number one, everyone's human and they have struggles and failures, and it's not just them, but two, what were the learnings that came out of it? So yeah, please do talk about the struggles that you had. You said, 2013 to...
So 2013, the way I was in business up until that point meant that in 2013 I burnt out completely. So I'd been having anxiety and panic and stress, but I was go, just watch me. I'm going to build my business, sod the lot of you. I'm going to go bigger, faster, stronger, spend more money on mentoring, learn all the marketing strategies and put them into place as quickly as I can. I'm going to fail, and I'm going to fail fast, and I'm going to go out my comfort zone. And it all ended horribly with me just being sick in bed for like 3 months and not being able to manage. So that was a massive, great big, and they're never failures in retrospect, are they? So that was what, if you could imagine me running along and then skidding feet first into the principles, that's how I landed in the principles, because that was my wake up call, right? It was like, oh my God, like what's going on? There has to be something other than just making loads of money. So that kind of whole experience, I guess, wasn't really a failure, but that was, that's what brought me to this conversation. And then what I was talking about earlier was like where I started bringing it to work with business owners initially. So right at the beginning, I was hearing all these things, and I was really into the idea of simplicity. So simplicity was like my thing. It was going to be my next thing after Jigsaw Box, which was my online coaching platform. It's going to be my next big thing. And I kept hearing all this stuff in the principles understanding that I was gathering about how an understanding of the principles would mean I'd be more innovative and more creative and more successful in business and more resilient, and have a clearer mind was really great for business and all the rest of it. And so I was teaching all this stuff I was hearing, which totally made sense to me. And I'd be going out there and bringing clients on board saying, you should learn about the principles. It's great for your business. It's really, this is the thing that's like the cutting edge in business. And behind the scenes, my own business was tanking thanks to the principles, right? So everything that I'd previously taught was now defunct. Everything I was trying to teach was to an audience who wanted me to teach them the how-to marketing strategies. I was so off my grounding with what I was trying to teach and share, because I was saying, no, look, this is a really good basis for business. And yet my own business was really struggling behind the scenes. I didn't see, in all innocence, I didn't see the disconnect between the two, but I did find it was really hard to get clients, right? I had an initial crowd of people who followed me from what I used to do, who were like, oh, Nick's next big thing, like, what is it? So I had a crowd of people that came with me, and then there was kind of this disconnect. So for 2.5, 3 years, I was kind of sharing stuff that I knew was a good idea, but it wasn't impacting in my business. And so that was the reason why it was struggling. That was the reason why it wasn't really working. I was like way off my grounding. And it's, what's quite cool now is that I dropped all of that kind of business coaching and mentoring when I started working in the anxiety field. And then earlier this year, I took on business coaching clients again for the first time, because it's totally in my, the principles means that I show up in business and have a successful business because of my grounding, and I'm totally on my grounding now, so I can help business owners again. But I couldn't before because I was off, if you know what I mean. So it was really like, for me, the big turning point in my income, in my business, in my growth, in my revenues, in my impact, all of it, was when I did the thing they'd been telling me for 3 years, which is when I started to teach what I've actually seen for myself. And I'd always thought I was teaching what I saw for myself until I started teaching about what I'd seen that really made a difference to my anxiety, because there was nothing that I had other than the principles, and I knew 100% that every single change I'd seen in that area was due to my understanding of the principles, and that was it. And because I could speak from my own experience, because I shared what it was that I saw, that resonated with people. And if you're sharing stuff that resonates and is helpful and is in your grounding, then it would just become really easy to get clients.
So let me kind of just unpack that a little bit, because this is what I'm hearing, and this is great stuff. And it's reminding me of a conversation I had today. So I was speaking with a client of mine who's not a coach, but he's been really impacted, as so many people are, by the principles. And he said, I don't know if I want to be a coach, but I want to share this. How the hell do I share this? And I was reminded about me asking this question to Jamie Smart, years ago. And he pointed me to a training program he'd done with Mark Howard. And by the way, anyone who's watching this, who is in this group, if you go to the pin post at the top, there's a video, 2-part video I did with Mark Howard like 3 years ago, where he expands on what I'm going to say. So you can check that out. And Mark Howard said something in that training, and I didn't even speak to Mark. I was listening to this, this audio, and he basically said, share what you know.
Yeah.
And it was like so freaking obvious, but it wasn't before that. And up until that point, I'd been for 1.5 years and I'd got clients and people had paid me and I was doing my best, but I was trying to be somebody else. Like I was trying to be Keith Blevins or Jamie Smart or Garrett Kramer.
Yeah.
And when I heard Mark say that, I was like, well, what do I know to be true? Like, what can I say for certain?
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, well, I wouldn't say what Jamie's saying, and I wouldn't say what Garrett's saying, and I wouldn't say what Keith's saying, but I know a little thing about anger, because that was kind of my first insight.
Yeah.
Right. And even to this day, I can be like so strong and talk about that because I knew that to be true. And I was talking to this guy this morning and I went, don't try and be a coach. Don't try and be anyone else. But, rely on what insights you've had, rely on what you know to be 100% true for you.
You know what's funny though, Ankush, is like for a while I was doing websites for 3 Principles people, right, for businesses. And just because I spent 3 years going, what shall I do? What shall I do? And building a new website for myself every week. And then I thought, I could actually use this skill to help other people. So as I was building websites for people, I'd spend time finding out, like, so what is it that you want to do? What do you offer? Who do you work with? And I did it all for 3 Principles people. And again and again and again, I would hear the story. They would say to me, I really want to help people with business. Or I really want to help people with sales. Or I really want to help people find their true potential. Or I really want to help people, whatever. And then I'd get really curious and like, well, how did you bump into the principles? And it would be like, well, I had a cancer diagnosis and this changed everything for me. I'm like, do you not want to help people with that? No, that's the last thing I want to do. Like, I don't want to talk about cancer all day. Why would I want to do that? Or it'd be with someone who's like, oh yeah, well, I had this experience when my child was born that they had a disability and everything changed. And that's how I bumped into the principles and it changed everything. I don't want to talk about that though. I want to talk about something else. And I could hear when I was talking to them is like, they had an area where and me too, right? The last thing I wanted to do was talk to people about anxiety. Like I felt I had escaped the trap of that. And there's no way that I wanted to spend all day, every day with anxious people talking about anxiety. And I didn't want to go there. And it was so funny because over time, what I've seen is a lot of those people who have become really like amazing. They were great teachers anyway, but like amazing teachers are all because they've actually gone, oh, do you know what? I really do have something to share in this area. And they've kind of owned that space because there's no one that can talk about it like they can, because it's what they know in their bones. It really is.
Yeah. And you know what? That's such a great point. And I'm thinking about now my own clients and I'm thinking about people I'm speaking to, and that's so true. And I remember when I started, my background in terms of personal development was all kind of men's work around relationships and dating. And I got into this going, I ain't going to talk about that. Yeah. No way. I want to move on from that. I want to do some life coaching, real life coaching. And it was like 2 years later, and I was at an event in London with Steve Chandler and Rich Litvin. And they went, write down where your last 10 clients have come from. And I will never forget this. And something like 8 out of the last 10 clients of mine were from kind of that world. And I was like, oh crap, like it doesn't matter what I think, this is what, and it makes sense. People resonate with me because I can speak in that community, because I can speak their language and I look like them and I can sound like them. And I would try to avoid that for a couple of years. And it was after that I started my kind of powerful men's groups and all that stuff that I do.
But what you just said there, I think, is really key. Like that's what I see in the coaches that I have mentored over the past sort of year or so. Like I just see over and over again that so this is just a metaphor that's been so helpful to me. It's like coaches will come to me and go, yeah, but like, what kind of marketing shall I do? Or what client group shall I work with? Or what business shall I do next? Or what opportunity should I take next? And I've got all these different options and I think I want to go this way. And to me, the metaphor that keeps coming to mind is like, if you imagine you're in this, like, in swimming pools where they have the chutes, water chutes, and then every now and again you pop out and you're in this pool. Right. And you're in this flat pool and there's like 10 water slides, right, all going down. And you're like, oh, I think I want to go this way. I want to go this way. Or which way shall I go? Which way shall I go? And you look around at all the slides and one of them's greased, right? Like one of them is just like it's greased. And if you look, you can always tell which one it is. Right. So you're looking at, which way shall I go? Which way shall I go? And then for you, it's like, well, men's like working with people on men's issues, it's greased. It's like the path of least resistance. It's there for the taking. And we kind of think we have to make the decision, but it's almost like it's pre-made because there's just a direction to go in. So if I'm sitting here now thinking, well, where do I want to take my business next? I don't have to decide. I just keep doing the work I'm doing, and I'll notice that relationship coaching keeps coming up, or I'll notice that business stuff starts coming up, or that parenting stuff starts coming up in my clients, or that I keep getting emails about, what happened for me. I kept getting emails from people saying, have you got anything for kids? Have you got anything for kids? And I'm like, no, I don't do kids. I'm going down this slide. I just do adults, me. And yet the work was there for the taking. It was like my personal mind was going like, oh, I want to go this way. I think I'll decide this is the way that I want my business to be. The amount of times I get clients that come to me and say, right, I think I need to build online programs and I need to do Facebook ads. So can you teach me about that? And we'll sit down and I'll start, and I fall for it so often, but I'll start talking about Facebook ads and I'll see their eyes start to glaze over, right? And they're like, oh, this looks really complicated. And we'll be having a conversation. Then all of a sudden they'll tell me, yeah, because I did get asked to speak at that corporate the other day. And they said they had 5 offices that I could do this talk in. And it's like, we don't appreciate what we get for free. Right? That person is getting opportunities for free. It's their grease slide, and they're so busy looking this way that they have a total lack of appreciation for the greased slide that's right in front of them. They go, no, I don't want to go that way. I want to go this way. No, I don't want to work in men's. I want to work this way. No, I don't want to work with anxiety. I want to go this way. No, I don't want to do one-to-one clients. I want to have online programs and do it that way. And meanwhile, the one-to-one clients are knocking on your door over here. It's just, and there's never been a coach, or actually, if I sit down with my friends and they're trying to make decisions, there's never been anyone that I've come across that when they take a look, they can see the grease. They can see which one is greased. It's really obvious when you just sit and look. And I just think, how cool is that you never have to make a decision? You just take a look and one of them's greased.
So I want to open this up to questions in a few minutes. So if you've got questions, get them ready or start typing them out.
Yeah.
But I've got one more question for you, which I want to ask, because you've mentored a few coaches, and this is a group full of coaches. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you find coaches from our community, from coaches working with the principals, what are the ones they make? What are the mistakes they make?
That they think that they need to learn marketing strategies, and that they think that there's a secret that marketers know that they don't know, that if they could just figure that out, they get more clients. And so they're distracted and busy looking for something they have either seen somebody else do, so they fall in love with the form of someone else's insights over and over again. So it's like, oh, wow, look what she's doing with Facebook ads. Let's go and learn about Facebook ads, right? Or that person's got a really good model where they charge high end, small number of clients. I want to create that business model. And then they try and learn the strategies for how to create that in the world of form, totally missing the point that person was totally winging it when they came up with that form, right? They were totally winging it. And the thing that has given, I do it all over the place. I fall in love with photography courses and art courses and singing and dancing because I love the form that someone else has created. And I want to do that. I want to be able to create that magic. And then I try and dissect the form of it. But what I see is that, and what I'll always point clients towards is that they have the same capacity for winging it that the person did that created this form and this form and this form and this form. And there are infinite forms of how we can deliver our services to clients. And we all have the capacity to wing it. And I would much rather point clients in the direction of making it up as they go along, winging it, doing what looks like the next step for them, because that's all everyone else did that seems to have a successful business. Everybody was just winging it, making it up, being fluid, taking the next step, falling over or not, getting up, trying the next thing, trying the next thing, trying the next thing. And that the mistake I think people make is like, they think that there's a path if they could just find it. And it isn't. It's a, what would happen if I tried this? And then you try that, and then you notice that people come in and they want relationship coaching. So you're like, okay, well, who am I to know? Okay, I'll do some of that. And then you do that for a while, and then you notice that you're answering the same question 100 times in a row. So then you might create an online program. Oh, that'd be a good idea. It just makes sense. It's a no-brainer. So then you do that, and then you get asked to speak at a conference, or someone asks you to, you might have an opportunity and you write a book or whatever. There's like a million different ways that a business gets formed. And there's a unique path that's just yours, that's in front of your eyeballs right now. If you just stop looking at everyone else's stuff, you'd see that the obvious next step for you there. And the other thing that I want to say before we open up for questions, and this was pointed out to me really early on. This is something that Linda Pransky pointed this out to me. She said, you do know it's not a race, right? You know it's not a race, Nick. And that was, whenever I get caught up, whenever I struggle, whenever I mess up, it's always because I'm trying to go faster than the speed of life. So if I want my business to grow faster, or I want to learn faster, or I want to have a bigger impact faster than I am already, then I get myself into all sorts of trouble. But when I see that the growth is just the natural way when we follow our noses, and it's on a timetable of its own making, then I'm either trying to go faster or slower than that. But whatever pace it's unfolding at, if I'm not resisting and fighting that, A, I'm enjoying the journey a lot more, and B, there's more space in my head for inspiration. It's like the lazy girl's approach to growing a business, I have to say. Like C's hobby has just put path of least resistance. It's like, it really is the path of least resistance. It's like, it might look really lazy to not go and study like online marketing and how to build a cool website and blah. You might feel like you're being a procrastinator or you're a slacker because you've bought 10 million of those programs and you never implemented them. But you're not. It's just, that's not on your path. And we all know there are amazing coaches in this community who don't have a website. And we know there are amazing coaches who are everywhere online. And we know there are people doing beautiful work in tiny little corners of the country or the world that just don't get any recognition at all, but they're doing amazing work without any big shabazz. And it's all perfect for all of us.
So I wrote down a couple of things there again, just to unpack that. The first thing is, there's no one way of creating your coaching practice. Or if you want to go wider than that, there's no one way of sharing the principles. And that's something that I absolutely see. You're so right. Kathy Casey is a great example. No website. She has like an AOL address or something, like from the 1990s.
Yeah.
And yet is incredibly busy and does some amazing work.
I love that George Pransky doesn't even have an email address. Well, he has, but it's just for his grandchildren.
Yeah.
So he's no Facebook, no email, like nothing. And he's still, obviously we all know about him and he does amazing work in the world. But I have tried, but the thing is, in terms of the form, we get caught up in thinking what the form of it should be. And in the last year and a half, I have done one-to-one coaching sessions. I've done retreats. I've done with groups. I've done intensives with just one person. I've done online programs. I've done webinars. I've done podcasts. I've done blog posts. I've done Facebook. I've done Instagram. I've done, I've done 6-week programs, 12-week programs, 30-day programs, 7-day programs. I've memberships. Online memberships. I've done every single form that you can think of in terms of how it's possible that so far that I've come up with to deliver 3P our training and what it is that we know. I've written a book. I've lots of different formats, do interviews like this, speaking from stages. And for me, it's just it's messy and you do one thing and then something else occurs to you and something else occurs to you. And I haven't found the one thing that works, but I'm constantly trying new ways of delivering what I'm doing. I've just taken down all my online programs, and I'm just coaching one-to-one at the moment, which I've never done. And I'm just playing with it to see if I enjoy it. It's just lighter, like that.
And I love that you said it's not a race, and Linda said that, and I've been saying for years that I'm in this for the long term.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to remind myself of that when, if you've had a slow month or something's not gone quite according to plan, it's like, well, do you know what? If it was really important for me to make X amount of money in 60 days or 90 days, then that's important. But that's not what I got into this profession for. And I don't really know anyone who got into this profession to make a shit ton of money, because there's lots of other ways of making a lot of money really quickly, which, if that's what you're in this for, go and do something else.
Yeah, go on the website.
But yeah, so let's get to the questions. And Jason's patiently been waiting. He's written a question. What if you're getting requests for work you don't want to do? i.e. people in crisis, relationship breakups, who all seem to quantify cost versus time? Surely you don't want to go down that slide, regardless of how greased it looks.
Well, so here's what I see. Like, there's two bits in that question, right? So just to tackle the, who all seem to quantify cost versus time. It's like, in any group of clients, there's a group of people, there are just people who don't want to pay for the work that you do. There is in the field that I work in. So I create a whole load of free content for people who don't want to pay for anything. And then I spend my time with the clients that value the work that I do. So it doesn't matter what field of work you work in, there are people who are happy to pay at all different points in the scale. It's always, I remember lots of coaches come to me and saying, oh, well, they won't pay for it. And I'm like, how do you know? It's like, well, they emailed me and said, I won't pay for it. Well, they emailed you on their iPhone. Like, they've got the money. They just don't see the value in what it is that you're doing. And that's fine. There's always people who will pay and people who won't, right? So regardless of what field you're in, you never want that to be for me, that just is irrelevant, right? There's people in all different fields who want to pay all sorts of different amounts of money. But in terms of getting requests for work you don't want, here's the cool thing about the work we do. It's all the same conversation. It's all the same work. So if you enjoy teaching and sharing the principles, it doesn't really matter in what form the initial coaching request shows up. If someone comes to you, I really want some relationship coaching, or I really want business coaching, you show up, you're going to have the same conversation with both of them, right? So any door in is fine as far as I'm concerned. That's one way I find that's really helpful to think about it. And I also am in my own experience, what I find is that there's a direction I want to go in, and then there's a direction that is just life is saying, come this way. That's the grease slide. And I know that my personal ideas of what would be a good idea for me and what I would like to do are not a patch on what life has to offer. And I have so much respect for mind. I have so much respect for life pointing me in a particular direction that I just have learned over time that my personal preferences, I can try and go that route over and over again. And here's the thing, right? You got your 10 slides. This one's greased, but you go, no, I'm going this way. And you force yourself and you go down this way and you go down this way and you land in the pool. And then there's 10 more grease slides. And the same one will keep beckoning you. You'll notice over and over again, all this year I've said, I don't want to do lots of one-to-one clients. I want to do online clients. And one-to-one clients have been adding themselves to my waiting list all the time. And I'm going, no. I'm too busy trying to create this over here. And meanwhile, the clients are still coming this way. And I'm going, no. And that's taken me nearly a whole year to go, actually, this is the way life is taking me right now. And exploring that, what's on offer if I follow the path of least resistance, even though it doesn't feel like it's my personal preference, because I've made up in my head a whole load of crap about what happens if I go down this slide that I don't like? I think I know what's down there, and I have no idea. So given that you don't know what's down either slide, like fighting against where life's trying to take you always creates more struggle and friction in my books.
I remember every time I would tell someone that I didn't work with a particular community or type of person, they would be my very next client.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we can try and kid ourselves that we are in control of our business, but yet we're not. And I think it also depends. I would add this to Jason. It kind of depends where you're at, right? And maybe Nicola, you see this too. That, and I think you've kind of been pointing at it. If you're in a place where you would like more clients, and you've got some clients knocking on your door, what's your problem? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, sure. If you've got more business than you can handle, and there's some people coming at you, and it's not your ideal kind of work, you know, sure, you know, there's a different conversation. But if someone's like saying, "Hey, can you help me?" You're like, "No, I'm looking for clients, and you're not it." And they're going, "No, can you help me?" So, you know, I think that's kind of, you know, what you're saying, and I see it all the time, and I see it with myself too, that, you know, slowing down to the speed of life, we will see opportunities that have been smack bang in front of our faces that we just simply haven't noticed.
And the other thing as well that we do is we get a client, or we get 3 clients, and then we go, great, where's the next one? Right? And I'm so guilty of this, and I've really seen this for myself recently. It's like, well, here's much more the philosophy that I'm operating under at the moment. It's like, if I show up and do what's in my diary today and engage and be present with what's in my diary today, that totally takes care of what like 3 months from now in my diary, like what my diary is going to look like 3 months from now. Because I can promise you, if I focus on the clients I already have rather than always looking to the next one, the work I do is going to be better, right? The referrals I get are going to be more, the feeling from which I coach is going to be better, like the work that I do. And I'm so guilty. I have been so guilty of that, is like always looking to the next. And I don't want to operate that way anymore.
I'm smiling because, yeah, I'm smiling because I'm reminded of a client conversation I had last year. This person may or may not watch this, so who knows? But I was having a conversation with someone, and they were said, "Right, I want you to help me grow my practice." Great. Tell me about your clients. And this person had a handful of clients. I went, "Great, tell me about them." "No, I want you to help me get more clients." And I said, "I know. Let's talk about your existing clients." And we kind of went back and forth for about half an hour. And I said, "Here's what you're not seeing. You will grow your practice by focusing on what you've got right now through those people, and not by rushing to try and sign up the next person.
Mm-hmm.
And every single coach I know who is really worth their salt and is doing great work and gets a ton of referrals operates in the same way. And the coaches that are operating on the level of like sell next are often the ones that are not doing so well. And people get this confused.
Your clients can feel it. Your clients know if you're not there with them in this moment. Like, you know, if I'm sitting here talking to you, Ankush, and seeing the comments coming through from people, and I'm thinking about, well, when am I going to do my next webinar? It's like you'll feel that. It flavors everything you do with that client. And it's not nice, I know, because I've been on the receiving end of it, actually never in this community, but previously, where you feel like the person was just there to get the money from you, and now you're a pain in the ass in their diary, and because they want to make the next sale, and being on the receiving of that doesn't feel great either. So, I mean, I know that's so simple, like focus on the clients you've got right now, but I just see that's what the principles point us to over and over again, is about being here now with what's in front of us, engaging with life now, instead of thinking about all the strategies you use that might have worked, that you've heard about in the past, that were all in your memory banks and your good ideas of everything you've tried before. or sitting here going, what if, and thinking about the future the whole time.
So Carla asks, what if you genuinely can't see your grease slide? I've looked, and the only commonalities I find with my clients is that they tend to be smart, self-aware, and ready to do the work. From dirt poor to wealthy, men and women, a multitude of issues. I've had such difficulty narrowing my niche, and when I do narrow it, it feels off.
Well, then your grease slide is don't narrow your niche. It's like, I don't want to be stating the obvious, but it's like the path of least resistance is to not narrow your niche. So that's your grease slide, right? It's like you have the idea, oh, I need to narrow my niche. And for you, no. Like for some people, yes. For you, no. Obviously not. So it's like, well, what if you didn't have to? Like, what if you could work with a multitude of people with a multitude of issues? It's so many of my clients, like they're staring at them, and sometimes it takes a coach to point it to them because they can't see it. Or a conversation with a friend or someone else who's like, it's usually when you tell your friend what you've decided and they go, duh, we all knew you were going to choose that, right? Like it's obvious to everyone else and not always to ourselves. So that would be, Carla, that would be my straight answer to you.
I love that, Nicola, and it's funny because I've had a lot of people ask me, because I do a lot of work with men, and sometimes people ask me, so what are people coming to you for? And I was like, well, there's a ton of stuff they think they're coming to me for, and then there's a ton of stuff they actually come to me for. And like I had a guy, I'll tell you a quick story. I had a guy who came to me because he wanted to change the face of leadership in the UK. Right. What the F do I know about that? Okay, but we talked and you know, he signed up with me. And then I said, well, what do you really want to work on? And he said, well, what I really want to work on is my marriage is failing. And my marriage is failing because I don't have a high libido, and my wife does. And then I was thinking, what the hell do I know about that? I know even less about that than I do about leadership, right? Yeah. Like I'm not a sex and relationship marriage coach. I don't know what to do. But it's all the same. It's all the same. And I just spoke about, like we talk about, what do you know to be true? And it changed him. And similarly, last year I had a guy who his main issue was pornography addiction. And I was like, I don't do addictions. I don't work with people in addictions. But again, it's this whole piece, like you say, it's all the same work. All the work we do, it's the same. And again, once we got over the addiction stuff actually pretty quickly within a few sessions. And then it's like, well, now what do you want to talk about? And there's always more stuff that comes out because often clients bring us the symptoms of misunderstanding, right? But the symptoms are not the problem.
Yeah. I mean, there's of the business coaching clients I took on at the beginning of this year, not one of them are we still having conversations about business. Like they're business, like they're flying in terms of business, but there's all sorts of other stuff that's like, oh my goodness, you mean this has an impact on my marriage? Or like this has got something to do with my health, or they start to see that connection. But the thing with clients, I think, is that what I wanted when I first came to this field, what I wanted was clients that I knew that I could help, right? Like clients that I felt really solid, like I can help you. This falls within my area of expertise. I know that I can help you with this. And now what's changed, and again, this is why it always comes back to grounding, is again, Kathy Casey famous words, but like I am so up for getting in over my head. And with the result that I get clients that are totally out of my area of expertise, or I get clients that I've never coached around that area before, and I love to get in there with clients and both of us sitting us in completely in the unknown and seeing what comes up for both of us. And that's why this is so different from the kind of coaching that I used to do before, where I had to be the expert. But now we both are in over our heads, so we both can't rely on our data banks of what we know to do to help people or how to be helped or whatever. That's really fertile ground for insight and for seeing something new for both of us. And so if you're open to getting in over your head, there's all sorts of interesting clients that then become potential, people that become potential clients that before you wouldn't even look at, because you'd run a mile rather than try and coach somebody on that because I don't know how to do it. That's this. We do better work when we don't know what we're doing. That's the brilliant thing that allows us to work with clients that we wouldn't expect to. Like if you're a lawyer and you have a specific area of expertise, you kind of better stick to that. But in our business, it's great for us to be able to go and explore areas that we've unexplored territory. That's the richest ground for conversation. And then the coolest thing about our job is it's like we get a free coaching session at the same time. I love that.
What I was thinking as you just saying that, it was our area of expertise as humans.
Yeah.
Right? Because this is about our psychology.
Well, beyond that. So like it's pointing to people to who they really are. And that's helpful for anyone and everything.
So if you've got any more questions, we've got a few minutes left. Please do ask them. This is your opportunity. We always get someone who waits till 59, 1 minute to go, and then they ask us a really complicated question. So if you can give us a few more minutes, that's going to be helpful. If not, I will ask Nicola some questions and we'll carry on. But this is your time and opportunity. What would you say? So I've got questions that I know the answer to, but I'm interested in what you might say and what your answer would be. What would you say about, people who don't know about the principles? They don't know what you and I know. So they're looking for results, right? They're looking for a particular outcome.
Yeah.
So what would you say, to someone who says, oh, well, it feels like a bait and switch. It feels like, if I say, hey, I can help you change your marriage, or I can change it, that I don't actually know that. All I know is that I can point them to they really are, and it might change their marriage or might not. What would you say to people who ask that question?
Well, I guess if I think about the two different groups of clients that I have most experience of working with, so if I'm working with my clients with anxiety, Gail, I knew you were going to come along and ask a good question. I can't read it all at the moment, but we'll come to it in a moment. With people who are coming along and saying, I've got anxiety, I've got panic attacks, I'm really suffering, I'm really scared, I want it gone, can you help? I can 100% say yes from the bottom of my heart. Like, yes, I can help you with that. Yes, I can help you. Can you make the panic attacks be gone and never come back, and my anxiety be gone and never come back? No, but I can help you change your relationship with it such that it doesn't matter whether it comes back or not. And they're like, what? I know it sounds weird, right? But actually it's better than what you're asking for. And then I'll explain why. Right? So I'll have that conversation with people. But mostly my clients will come to me and they'll book into my diary to talk about coaching. And they're like, I don't even care what you do or how you do it. Like, can you help? I'm at my wit's end. Can you help? And I'm like, 100% yes. And with people's businesses, when they're like, I'm coming to you because I want to learn how to take my business online, 9 times out of 10, I'll say, no, you can't work with me because you don't need me. And here's why. So I'll turn down clients who want that kind of help because that's not what I do. And I'll tell them why they don't need it. And but more my clients will come to me because I've put something out there that explains my take on business or my take on anxiety. And they just say, I resonated with you. I want to learn more about it. And so there's never a bait and switch as far as I can see. Like, I'm always as direct as I can be about what they can expect as a result of it, even if it's that we don't know what you can expect as a result of it. Like, I've got a retreat coming up at the moment called A Quiet Mind. And it's like, we don't know what you're going to walk away with from it, but it's going to be really cool to find out. And people who are signing up for that are like, okay, I'm in. Like, they know that's what they want. And that comes, I do a lot of education material, right? So I am constantly creating videos and podcasts, and like there's very few people who will come and sign up with me if they haven't consumed some of my stuff first. So they kind of know the angle I'm coming from. So it's never that they think they're going to get marketing strategies from me if they sign up as a business coaching client, or techniques on how to manage anxiety, because I'm really full out clear that that's not my job and that's not what I do. And there's a million other places you can get that, but that's not what I do.
And I think you've probably found what I have, Nicola, that the more honest you are about that, it actually brings more clients to you.
Oh, completely.
As opposed to pushing them away.
Oh, yeah, completely. Well, it brings the clients that want that kind of help. I'm sure there's a load of people that look at my stuff and go, what do you mean no techniques, no strategies? I'm not interested in that. I want techniques and strategies. I want how-tos. And that's great, because they'll go and get the help they think they want elsewhere. And I have no problem with that. But I know that the people who are perfect for me to coach right now will show up as much as I do. So if I show up, I don't hide myself away and I show up, the other people show up that resonate with that, and then we get to work together. And I'll tell you that the kind of clients I work with now, we engage on a different level than I did 18 months ago when I started doing this work, because I'm resonating at a different place now. And so the kind of clients that I'm getting are, stretch me 3 steps ahead of where I'm ready to go all the time. Right. And that's kind of to be expected, I think.
Let's get to Gail's question, which is a great question. I've left coaching alone because I got sick of people wanting to talk about their problems. My empathy disappeared completely. I've recently been inspired to check back into the coaching community again, though, and to give it another try. I know that I'll get burnt out if I continue the same way that I did before. I think you've answered my question, though. I feel as though I'm stepping completely into the unknown. I know that the 3 Ps has had a bigger impact on my life than I ever could imagine. Who am I to think that I can show people this?
Well, Gary, I know you've done a podcast episode with me, and I send that podcast out to people all the time. So without doing anything, you're already helping people, and you don't have to talk to them about their problems at all. So it's easier than you think, but and I know we've had a little conversation about this, Gail, but here's the cool thing. I can work with people who have anxiety because I don't talk to them about anxiety. Like, why would I talk to them about anxiety and their anxious thinking and their problems and their things they're struggling with? Like, I don't need to go into the content of their personal experience to be able to help. Like, getting mired down in the detail isn't helpful. If I'm working one-to-one with a client, it's great, so I can kind of understand their world and where they're coming from, and I want to know that, and I have empathy for them because I remember what it was like to stand in their shoes. Like, I truly do remember what it's like to suffer like that. But 90% of our conversation, if not more, we're exploring what mental health is, not mental illness. When I'm talking to someone about relationships, we're talking about what a healthy relationship is and what our innate health is and our resilience and where love really is and all that kind of stuff. We're not talking about who left the lid off the toothpaste or how many panic attacks they had last week. It's not relevant to our conversation. So that's we're always pointing in the direction of something beautiful. So that's what we get to have conversations about, not the problems. So I don't know. I hope that's helpful. But yeah, if you're sitting there listening to people's problems all day and then trying to sort through the problems and try and help them fix the problems that look real to them, that's why people in the helping professions burn out, because that's miserable. But if you end up more like them than they are like you by the end of their coaching session, right? But if we're looking to the impersonal and we're having philosophical but impactful conversations with our clients, we get to share this beautiful space with them. It's like, I can do that all day, every day. It's a joy. I know I'm pointing in the right direction if I feel rejuvenated after the coaching conversation. Like, I know I've probably gone the wrong way if I end up feeling mired in problems and feeling down and fed up with the whole coaching world. Then it's because I've gone down in the detail rather than us both enjoying this capacity for creativity and love and peace of mind.
I remember when I was younger and I was still at school, my mum did a psychology degree, and she never really went into the profession. And I asked her why not, and she said something along the lines of that, it's a very difficult profession. And there's some statistic that like psychologists, therapists, counselors have the highest suicide rate, or one of the highest suicide rates of all professions. And that's why they have supervision, because they take on other people's problems and then they need an outlet with someone else. And like so many things, when I came across the principles and I looked at professionals in this industry who knew this understanding, they didn't fit the kind of common kind of mold, if you like. And I looked at people like Keith Blevins or Dickon Bettinger or Kathy Casey, and they're just like really, really, really mentally healthy, like really mentally healthy. And I think it's because of what you've just pointed us to, that it's not about just listening to people talk about their problems and like, oh yeah, that's so bad, and maybe make some suggestions or give them a technique to try and handle how shit their life really is. But it's instead about helping them see that their whole life is a creation, and my coach is a guy called Steve Chandler, as many people know, and he had a coaching distinction called owner versus victim. And I had an insight a few years ago. I said, Steve, the principles, like if we see them, it's a side effect that we step into ownership as opposed to victimhood. Because if you really see life as inside out, you can't be a victim of it. And so what's so cool is if I can't be a victim of life, neither can any of my clients. Like no matter how bad it is. And so I think we're really providing hope to people. And when I get clients who ask me the question like, who am I to share this? Who am I to this? I love the Sid quote where someone asked him, what's my qualification? And he went, your insight is your qualification. And I love hearing stories of him just like pushing Elsie onto the stage and right, off you go. He wasn't one for like holding people back and saying, well, you need to do another couple of years hanging around with me till you really get this before you can start sharing it.
Yeah, no, Kathy Casey and Mark Howard on one of the first weekends of Supercoach, second weekend of Supercoach Academy, and they were like, you see this much, and if all you ever shared was that, it would change people's lives. That much. Now go and get in over your head. But it was like, I really came away through that conversation and seeing that much was enough. And that's all I had at that point.
Well, we've got one more question from Rui. I don't really understand your question. And we've got 2 minutes to go about the power of suggestion, who really are. Perhaps we can pick that up offline. But I want to respect the time that we've got, Nicola. If people like what they hear, you're in the group. Are you happy for people to follow up with you and message you and ask questions or anything like that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, my website's alittlepeaceofmind.co.uk. So people there's a contact form on there as well. So if I get a lot of messages through Facebook. So if I don't reply, then I don't mean to be rude. But you can go through the contact form on the website. It's probably a better way to get hold of me. But if people ask questions here and tag me in this group, then I should be able to come back and answer questions here as well, as much as I'm able to. Happy to do that, of course.
So you can send them all the details of marketing strategies they can use to grow their coaching practice.
No, but I can tell you why I won't. In fact, I already have, I think.
Fantastic. Well, it's been great for me to get to know you a little bit better today. I hope that's been really helpful for people watching. We've got a bunch of little hearts flying on the screen and things like that.
Good.
So
I love flying hearts.
So thank you for that. I'll take half of those hearts for myself as well. Thank you, Nicola, for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure, and a real pleasure to get to know you a little bit better as well.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you guys for coming along and sending me hearts. That's made my evening.